Representative Weaver, let's talk about some of the bills that you're carrying or are sponsoring.
Well, you know, this year we have that 15 limit to carry legislation, which is a great thing. I think it's good. We can focus on some important things. I talked today about my student self-defense bill. It's a common sense piece of legislation that'll make it clear to everybody across the state, and it empowers our principals to make the decision. Because currently, any kind of fighting that goes, fighting policies in our schools, all involved get suspended, and it's really unfair when you have a child who will not defend themselves because they don't want to be suspended. They might be on the football team or in a special activity at school, and the rule is if you fight, you're out. And some of these cases are pretty brutal, and I'm getting a lot of positive results from parents, teachers, principals, people that have experienced some bad scenarios, and they're really in supportive of it. So again, this will empower common sense and allow those principals to make that final decision.
Senator Beavers, I know you're concerned about the problems coming out of Washington, particularly sequester, and how that's going to affect the states, particularly Tennessee and the counties here.
That should be of concern to everybody at the state level, at the local level, because we don't know what's going to happen. If they make the $100 million in cuts, which are proposed for Tennessee, should they not act in Washington today, we stand to lose $85 million, I think, and that's just in education alone, not counting all of the other areas. You know what kind of makes me mad is that Washington chooses to cut the things that they know will hurt the worst.
Yeah.
And that's what I've tried to explain to some of the local commissioners, city councilors, and so forth that have had questions lately about things, is that we don't know what's going to happen. We can't really plan our future when we don't know what Washington's going to do to us, how much money they're going to take away. So I know Senator Kyle stood up on the floor yesterday and he said, well, if they start cutting welfare benefits, I'm going to make a motion that we take the money from the rainy day fund. Well, that's no way to live. Mm-hmm. We've got to plan for the future. We don't know what's coming down the tracks. We know that we're going to have an automatic Medicaid expansion just because of the mandate under Obamacare to raise the income limit at which you're qualify for Medicaid. So whether the expansion bill passes at the state level or not, we're already going to have an expansion.
That's right.
We're looking at insurance rates for individuals in the state of Tennessee. It is projected will go up 75% by August, 300% by next year. So all I can say to folks, you need to be getting in touch with your congressman. You need to tell them to quit raising the debt limit, quit voting for spending, and start making some cuts in Washington on things that don't matter anyway.
Let's talk about gun legislation and school security related to that. Your thoughts on what's going to happen and what has happened?
Well, we're in a new day. You know, obviously what's been happening across our state, across our country and our schools. There are numerous commissions and sheriff department. They're all trying to figure out how can we keep our kids safe in school. Well, for one thing, we're not going to be able to prevent evil. So I have a piece of legislation that I worked on. It's not actually my bill, but it would allow teachers, to those who want to, those who go through the training, there's a whole litmus of things that they have to do that would allow them, and we talked about this last month, to carry a gun. I mean, as an option. As we're seeing what's happening now is we have, and money's tight, and now they're having discussion of putting a school officer in every school. Well, there's a minimum of $55,000 per person annually all the time, and we're strapped for funding. So we're going to have to really rethink how we do school security. And of course they're doing some upgrades and some things, which all those things will help. But it's an open discussion. We're starting discussions. There's a lot of things that we could do, and we're just going to have to educate people about it. But I'm in support of our Second Amendment. It's very important, and as the senator said in our town hall this morning, those rights are being whittled away. should very be concerning to folks out there. And I'm encouraged that as we touch these issues, it's waking up a sleeping giant, and people are paying attention, and they're coming to town hall meetings. They want to know what's going on, and Obama has been the best thing since sliced bread for that, because he's really causing conservative people who love family, faith, and freedom to be vocal, and so that's a good thing. We had a bill that passed out, the Guns and Trunks bill. I'm sure everybody has been watching that. I'm never going to vote against a gun bill. I mean, that's just not. But we're going to have to tweak the one that went through, because there's some errors in it. I wish we would just slow down and put some real thought behind some of these bills, because what happens is, Dwayne, is next year we have to revisit it and we have to fix it. And again, that's just, I don't know why we have to go so fast, but in regards to your, yes, I voted for the gun bill, but we're going to have to revisit it.
And I actually have a caption bill with Josh Evans that he brought to me that will correct some of those things, you know, whether we decide to pursue it this year or next year. As Representative Weaver said, we have real concerns about our Second Amendment rights that some in Washington want to take away. There are several bills in Washington to ban certain kind of guns and to only limit you to a certain amount of ammunition. Once they make a move on our gun rights, it's just going to be a matter of time before they try to take them all away.
Right.
That's the danger in these bills. Some people say, oh, well, you don't need this kind of gun or you don't need that kind of gun. That's not what it's about. Our Constitution says that our Second Amendment rights shall not be infringed.
That's right.
You know, there's no wiggle room in that. Washington can't make laws on our Second Amendment rights, which is why I introduced a bill this year, an amendment to the Tennessee Firearms Freedom Act that I passed in '09, that says that if anybody comes and tries to take your guns away or infringe on your rights in any way, that they can be arrested. Many of the sheriffs have signed on with us that they will not stand by and let federal agents come into our counties in Tennessee and take our firearms from us. That bill is stalled in committee in Senate Judiciary right now. It has started a great debate over our Constitution and Second Amendment rights, the Supremacy Clause. And, you know, if this bill does nothing else, it has started the best debate to make people go back, read the Constitution, read what our founding fathers meant in the Federalist Papers, know what your rights are. Yes. Don't let the federal government take all of our rights away before we act. I feel very strongly about that, and I know people in the South do. We have lots of hunters in DeKalb County, and I know their Second Amendment rights are very important to them.
This wasn't discussed today, but it's been in the news a lot about school vouchers, charter schools, and that type of thing. There's some opposition to that here locally among some local educators. What's your view about that, or have you formulated an opinion yet?
I have, but you know, again, when discussions and debate take place, I got to have both sides. My biggest concern, and maybe not very many people have visited it, but my biggest concern is anytime you have a federal footprint on money, we have seen over and over and over again, it comes with a dictation. It comes with a control, and it comes with telling you what you can or cannot do with it. My biggest concern is taking that voucher money, what follows a kid, to our Christian schools or schools that decide to teach differently or have different, you know, hey, they might say, you can't teach Bible anymore. You can't teach this course anymore. You can't teach that. That's my first priority. And my second priority is I have families I know where the dad works 2, sometimes 3 jobs just so that their child can go to a Christian school. And I do not think it would be fair to have someone come over here with a coupon voucher that would come over free and would come over to this Christian school. And what do you say to that family? I don't think that's right. Again, anytime there's federal money, there's control. And that will never be changed. And I think we really need to stop and pause and consider the unintended consequences of a voucher system. That's where I'm at right now.
And that's pretty much where I'm at this time. They're going to limit it to people in certain income categories. And I'm like, why? Everybody, pays tax money. And so why would you limit it to just a few people? But like Representative Weaver said, it's the unintended consequences. And that kind of gives me a segue into the religious freedom bill that we passed through the Senate last year that the governor vetoed regarding an all-comers policy at our state universities, at Vanderbilt University, that gets much of our tax money. An all-comers policy says that if you have a student organization on campus, you may have a Baptist organization. They say that you have to take anybody that wants to join your organization, no matter whether they believe like the Baptists do or not. A Muslim could come in and want to join that organization, and you could not limit them the way that Vanderbilt's saying. They would also have to accept them into leadership of that group if they wanted to be in leadership. How absurd can you get? Our founding fathers came to this country for freedom of religion. To be able to choose which religion you wanted or no religion if you didn't want it. And for a university to be forcing this on organizations that have certain beliefs is unconscionable. Yeah. Virginia, several other states have just passed a bill that is similar to ours. We're going to be coming back with our bill this year. We'll be having a press conference probably next Tuesday on that issue. But I think it's something that people should be aware of and be aware of. I think they're trying to affect our religious freedom in this country,
And
to
again,
worship as we please.
And as you said, Senator May, is people need to read their Constitution. You need to know it. I give it out to the kids that come visit me in my office, and I encourage them, because when you know what your rights are, when you know where you stand, you can be a very, very strong voice, and you can make a difference in how things are going. The danger is when people aren't educated on what their rights are. And we're, religious liberties, Second Amendment, 10th Amendment, all these things are being attacked. It's so vital that people know what it says.
And the day after, or the week after the governor vetoed that piece of legislation, Vanderbilt threw 5 Christian groups off campus.
Which was their agenda anyway.
Anything else you'd like to mention before we go?
Oh, we just appreciate WJLE and how you keep the people informed here, Dwayne. You're doing a fabulous job. And again, those of you who are watching, don't ever hesitate to call us. May and I are so accessible, and we are privileged to serve you, and it's an honor to serve you. So anything we can do to help, just give us a call.
And of special interest to the Cobb County area, we've had lots of calls on it. We were asked about it this morning, that's the Sligo Bridge.
Yes.
Pushing right ahead on that and
Yes.
staying in touch with the Department of Transportation. Thank you for having us today.
Yeah, thanks.